Hello everybody, Thomas Fleming here on a beautiful day. I'm going down to do a study and talk about something important. Whenever I'm talking about the Bible, it's important, so it's hard to distinguish, but this importance is now is not a time to be under judgment. God is getting ready to judge this world, and the amount of judgment coming is going to be called the wrath of God. Nobody wants that kind of judgment. We'll get back in the shade here. Things are fixing to get tough. Once the tribulation time frame starts, the seals start up, things happen really fast. Now, there's going to be a, quote, time of peace in the first half, probably. That's where the Antichrist gets peace. But in the meantime, they're about ready to go to war over there. Israel is planning right now a preemptive strike against somebody. A big preemptive strike against somebody. He's just doing, Netanyahu's doing tit for tat right now. They launch a couple of rockets, we go in and we take out a couple of bases. It doesn't really stop them. It's not an incentive to stop. Ultimately, Israel's going to get backed into a corner and have to use nukes, but in the meantime, a major offensive, they've done this before, where they go into a country like Hamas or Lebanon or even Syria and attack and don't let up. It is literally a war. They don't let up until there's no enemy left. The idea of land for peace is a joke. Unfortunately, there's nobody laughing. Okay, let me put my camera down so I can deal with this. I'm going to have to put my microphone in, I think. And I got my Bible with me so we can read some scriptures. Settled in. Yes, I'm at my swing that I like. Back in the park, looking at the river. I show the river a lot. I may do a little bit of it at the end of this just for you to see, but to me, I see it all the time. It's God's creation. I'm just comfortable watching it. I'm not impressed anymore because it's still there. I've seen it in high and low tides, and it's moderately low. It's a little high, but not too bad. And it's washed up mud on the boat ramp from all the high tides that we've had because of all the rain. I hope we're changing cycles here because I've had it with rain. Because rain leaves me cooped up inside, and I don't have a 5,000 square foot mansion. I have, but I don't have one now. My tent, let's see, 8 by 12. Do the math. 96? That's the amount of square feet. That's the flat square foot. And if you put it into 3D, it's 7 foot tall. Yeah, do the math. It's a big tent, but it's still a prison if you can't get out. And that's what the weather does if it's bad. It's a little bit cool, but not uncomfortable. I'm in short sleeves. I don't have my shorts on yet. That's tomorrow. Still got my long jeans on. And I got to pick up some new jeans because I know I have a religious channel, but I can't get my, I've got holy jeans. I can't get them up high enough. The jean material lasts for a long time, and these are probably 25 years old. All right, let's get back into our topic for today. You know that there is one thing that you can do that God will honor. You can request one thing that I'm guaranteeing you God will honor every time you ask it. He won't like it. He'll be upset. Might even cry about it. But you can tell God to leave you alone, and He will honor that. He never forces us to do anything. Now, if it's an important thing, if you're picked by God, like some of our big name people in the Bible, these people may get mad at God. Moses did. Are they the people of Moses or the people of God? Why are you putting me through this? It can be frustrating at times. But God understands that. But to come right out and say, I don't want to have anything to do with you, God, just leave me alone. That's pretty much the world out there now. They've bought the lie. They believe the lie, and it's technically not their fault, yet it is. It's not Adam's fault that he believed the lie. It's not Eve's fault that she told him the lie that she believed. It's the devil. But, you take the devil away, which they're going to do during the millennium, we're still quite capable of screwing things up on our own because we have a sinful nature. It's already started back with Adam and Eve. We can't stop it. Jesus is the only one that can permanently mask it. He can put our sins aside, throw them away, never to be brought up again. Only the devil brings up your past. But we don't have any guarantees if we don't stay with God. And yet too many people believe the lie. And you tell them, well, God exists. Prove it, show me. They'd rather be, quote, atheist than believe in a simple solution of a God being out there. They think that everything that we've got happened on its own. As a Christian, that's funny. We've got apple trees and orange trees and all kinds of cool things like that, and they happened on their own. Why don't we have a tree that grows refrigerators? You say that's absurd. So is an orange tree on its own. Everything that we see, the forest that I live in, this is beautiful country, was created by God. Now, these things are designed to carry on and propagate and keep growing without God's immediate hand on things. But He's involved. God is omnipresent. So if a leaf is getting ready to fall off, it doesn't fall off without God knowing about it. Now we're going to look at what happens when we decide to invoke this one commandment that we can give God, leave me alone. It's not something that we should be playing with lightly today, not in these times. We're on the brink of war all the time, it seems like. We keep wondering when the rapture is going to get here because things keep getting worse, but they're not bad enough yet. And apparently whatever the rapture is, something mega bad, so bad you can't imagine bad, is going to happen, and we're going to have to be raptured out of here. We haven't seen anything like that yet. How about all of Satan's, a third of Satan's angels coming to earth with Satan for the purpose of killing us? I think that's bad. And that's what Revelation 12 says. But high inflation, not bad. Shortages of food, not bad. They're not good things, but they're not super bad yet. So just hold it together. Remember, I told you to prep. You may need a few months of stuff to get through. And if you have 3 months of food in the cupboard and you never use it, you've got 3 months of comfort that you can know you would get through if you had to. And then those stores are for your friends and family when you're gone. So It's got multiple purposes. I hope this wind isn't making a lot of noise. The storm is gone, but this is the day after. It rained pretty much all day Saturday into Sunday. The clouds cleared out Sunday morning just in time for sunrise service. So I'm making this on Monday. Monday was moving day, so I'm making this on a moving day. Because of the holidays and the storm, I've kind of gotten behind on my video, so I got to catch up. And somehow Rumble's one video behind, and I don't know why. I don't know. I'm either making videos or trying to figure out how to get them uploaded. Starlink is a lifesaver in that, but it's not perfect. And no satellite works in a heavy rain. It can't get through the clouds, through all that moisture. So I need to be at least one, hopefully 2 videos ahead at any given time to make sure whatever comes up, The plane could crash into my tent and destroy my internet. I don't know what's going to happen. Only God does. So I have to be ready, and I do this as a service to God and to you, and I want to make sure that I cover it. All right. I'm trying to upload a video for tomorrow, and it's reset 3 times, but my antenna is not stable yet. When I plug in Starlink, it takes 15 minutes for it to connect to a satellite, up to, could be less. And then it takes 6 hours to map the sky so that it doesn't send a signal into a tree. It has to know where the tree is. There's multiple satellites up there. And apparently we don't stay on one. HughesNet and things like that, you go to one satellite. Apparently with this Starlink, we've got multiple satellites. And it jumps around, and it has to know which ones it can reach. All right, back to our story. God will not force us to do anything. He is pleased as punch when we accept Christ and want to do work with Christ, want to work with God and getting the message out and doing anything. If He say basically, I'm here to do whatever you want me to do, He's got joy beyond belief with that, with everyone that says that. But we're going to look at some examples where people have chosen. Now, God does not force people. If you say, I don't want you involved in my life, God goes, okay, my hands are off. You're on your own. This is what this means, though. The world is not a safe place. There are all kinds of things that can happen that only God knows how to protect you from. You don't know enough about this world to protect yourself. All right, I'm going to try to do this with this wind, see if I can get away with it. Where was I going to start? I got to get my first page out. So I'm back to writing my scriptures down so I have the order. We're going to go to Romans 1:18. 1:18. I got to make sure that when I rewatch my video and I have to put the text in telling you, I got to make sure I can find where I'm at. So I have to watch this video after I record it. I got to edit it. So I get the benefit of it first. Romans 1:18. And we're going to be in Old and New Testament, so this is not something subject to just one or the other. God's consistent. It doesn't matter where you pick up and read about God. Okay, Romans 1:18. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. You got to believe that this world out here is about to get hammered hard, and we're going to look and go, why is it going to be such a tribulation time frame? Well, just look at what's going on. They're lying through their teeth. I just talked about the one word I can use is lies. God told us, look out for false prophets, false teachers. They didn't have the news media back then, but false news media. They're all over the place. Okay. Who suppress the truth in unrighteousness, because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. For those people that say, well, what about somebody who never heard about it? Right there, there's your verse. We all have that connection. We all know about it. Look around the world at the ancient civilizations trying to do things for God. They did everything wrong. You know, they sacrificed children in South America just to please God, or the gods, or all little g gods, because they didn't know who God was. They know that there was a God, and they tried to do what was right, but it's the wrong way. So there's without excuse, because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Killing babies as a sacrifice to God, that's the ultimate darkness. Shall we talk about abortion? Same category, ultimate darkness. Professing to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like corruptible man, or birds, or four-footed animals, or creeping things. So God gave them up to uncleanliness, into the lusts of their hearts, to dishonor their bodies among themselves. See, God lets you do whatever you want to do. You have a choice. Accept the one perfect God who's loving and wants to see the best in you, to a world that is full of corruption. I think it's a very easy decision. But Satan's always in there with the lie. Did he really mean he would treat you badly, or allow the world to treat you badly, if you told him off and told him to leave you alone? We have example after example of what happens when people tell God to leave them alone. All right, we're going to go to Proverbs. And we're going to be in 124. Because I have called you and you refused, I have stretched out my hand and no one regarded. Because you disdained in all my counsel and would have none of my rebuke, I also will laugh at your calamity. When we talk about God having a sense of humor, watching you be like the old black and white comedies, the Three Stooges. How many times did they try to do something that they weren't capable of doing and totally messed it up? Well, God laughs at that. I will mock when your terror comes. There will be terror if you reject God. He's going to try to get your attention nicely now. But when the tribulation time frame comes, niceties are aside, and you're going to get the ultimate wrath of God. The wrath of God starts midway in the 7 years, but I don't think any of the seals and trumpets are nice. When your terror comes like a storm, and your destruction comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you, you can't laugh in the face of the Bible and the truth of God. God will let you do what you want to do, but you will mess it up big time, or you will just simply be in the wrong place at the wrong time, because To be in the right place at the right time, you got to be with God. Okay, I'm going to go to Jonah. What better example of how things can turn against somebody who won't do what God wants them to do. Now the word of the Lord came, I'm in Jonah 1:1. Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah and the son of Amittai, saying, Arise and go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry out against it, for their wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah arose to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare and went down into it to go with them to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. Okay, we've got plenty of stories about people just staying put and defying God and not wanting to do things. You can't flee from God either. He's omnipresent. He's everywhere in this world that we live in, and in heaven which we don't yet live in. He's everywhere. So you can't hide from him. But the Lord sent out a great wind onto the sea, and there was a mighty tempest on the sea, so that the ship was about to be broken up. And the mariners were afraid, and every man cried out to God, to his God, little g, and threw the cargo that was on the ship into the sea to lighten the load. But Jonah had gone down to the lowest parts of the ship, had laid down, and was fast asleep. I've been on ships. I was in the Navy. I don't understand how people can sleep in a storm, especially a storm bad enough that they're throwing cargo overboard. And Jesus sleeping in the small boat. When they wake him up, we're about to be killed, Jesus. You got to do something. And Jesus laughs and stills the storm, and it's calm, and they go into port. Okay. So the captain came to him and said to him, What do you mean, sleeper? Arise, call on your God, perhaps your God. These are big G's. Your God will consider us so that we may not perish. So they called on their gods, and it didn't do any good. So he's going to call on the big G God and see if that helps. And they said to one another, Come, let us cast lots that we may know for whose cause this trouble has come upon us. They believed back then that everything bad was because somebody was bad somewhere. You know, if a child had a problem, the parents were a problem. You know, that's kind of the way they believe things, because they had little gods that you had to appease. Our big God is full of love, and it's not the same way, but if you walk away from God, you're subject to what's around the world. Okay, so they cast lots, and it fell on Jonah. That's no accident. Then they said to him, Please tell us, for whose cause is this trouble upon us? What kind of trouble are you in? What did you do to your God that he's so mad at you? What is your occupation? And where do you come from? What is your country? And of what people are you? So he said to them, I am Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God in heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. He knew who God was. He wasn't denying God. He didn't want to go to Nineveh. He said, they deserve everything they get. I don't want to go to them. If I go to them, they're going to be good. They're going to stop being bad. I don't want that to happen. I don't like Nineveh. That was his excuse. He didn't run from God because he didn't want to do what God wanted him to do from that point of view. He didn't want to help Nineveh. If God had said, go and help another city, he'd have probably been fine. Just didn't want to help them. Then the men were exceedingly afraid and said to him, Why have you done this? For the men knew that he fled from the presence of the Lord because of what he had told them. Okay. The rest of the story is they throw him in the water. He gets eaten by a whale, stays in the whale's belly for 3 days, and then gets thrown up on the land. When in the whale's belly, he finally says, Okay, God, I give in. I'll go to Nineveh. Now, this was a chosen man of God who didn't want to do what God wanted him to do. Sometimes God tells us to do something and we don't want to do it. It can be any reason. It can be because we don't think they deserve to be helped, like Jonah, or it could be because we're afraid to do it. We've never done this before, whatever it is. Or we're afraid we're going to get ridiculed or attacked, whatever it is. If God tells you to do something, do it. If he's going to protect you, he'll protect you. He didn't keep his people from going to jail. Sometimes they went to jail. And when they did, they were examples to those in jail. And today we have prison ministries. Doesn't matter where you're at, God's going to reach out to you. And God can be wherever you're at. In a cave, in a cell, in the top of a tower, doesn't matter. Okay, we're going to go to Hosea, which is just a couple of pages before. We're going to Hosea, say 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because they have received knowledge. I also will reject you from being a priest for me, because you have forgotten the law of your God. I also will forget your children. If you want to go back and see, he's talking about Israel. Pretty damning words from God. Because you have forgotten the law of your God, I also will forget your children. The more they increased, the more they sinned against me. I will change their glory into shame. They eat up the sin of my people. They set their heart on iniquity. And it shall be like people, like priests. So I will punish them for their ways and reward them for their deeds. For they shall eat, but not have enough. Because they have ceased obeying the Lord. If you deny God from the very, very beginning, you're condemned to hell, and that's where you're going, and you're not going to stop it. You stop it by accepting Christ. But then, once you're a Christian, you can still deny God. Here's godly people denying instruction or orders from God. If God says, it'd be nice if you would do this, I would consider that an order. A polite way of an order. Okay, and I'm going to end up in John. Okay, come on, wind, stop it. And we're John 12. I think I'm going to go to, I have the scripture at 48, but I'm going to go back to 44 because I want to get all of Jesus talking. He who believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. If you deny Jesus, you're denying God. If you accept Jesus, you're accepting God. And he who sees me sees him who sent me. I have come as a light into the world, that whoever believes in me should not abide in darkness. If anyone bears my words and does not believe, I do not judge them, for I did not come into the world to judge, but to save the world. That's also in 3. God sent his son, 3:16, to save the world. In 17, he didn't send Jesus to judge the world either, to save it. He who rejects me and does not receive my words has that which judges him. The word itself that I have spoken will judge him in the last day. So you may get by with your whole life. Oh, I'm pulling on my cable here. Turn the camera. Let me move it back a little bit. There we go. For I have not spoken on my own authority, but the Father who sent me gave me a command, what I should say and what I should speak. He's doing the same thing with us. He's telling us what to say and when to speak it. And we should be happy for that, because we don't have to worry about messing it up, because we're going to give a message to somebody that's right from God. I know that his command is everlasting life. Therefore, Whatever I speak, just as the Father has told me, so I speak. We can get away with a lot of things on this planet. We get away with things with God all the time because He loves us. But you can carry it too far. For those of you that parents know that children can carry it too far. They're going to push. Little children especially are going to push. And if we don't build walls around little children to give them a limit to their universe, they will work without laws, without rules later on in their life. Children need discipline and limits to what they can do. They got to learn. You can go beyond limits, but you got to know why and be sure of what you're doing when you're doing it. Everybody that thinks in a box is never going to get out of the box. You want to push the limits, but once you understand them, if you're teaching somebody sports, baseball is a good example, teach them how to hold the bat. Sometimes you put a gap in between your hands because you can swing it better until you learn the muscle memory to swing a bat. And you're going to be taught to swing a certain way. Everyone is going to have their own unique way to swing the bat eventually. But if you don't learn the basics, then you're not going to get out of the minors. You're not going to get out of the Pee Wee League or whatever it is you're in. As you practice, you will find the special gifts that God has given you. You won't find them until you get out there and use them. Use them and you will make mistakes. I used to teach skiing till I hurt my knee. I tell people if you don't fall down during the day, you're not trying. So the first thing that we teach them is how to get back up. Make everybody put their skis on, fall down into the snow. Now it's packed snow usually because you're in a relatively flat area. You're not on a mountainside that you're going to slide down. That'd be dumb. But you make them fall down and you show them how to get back up. Everybody's going to fall. Getting back up is the key. If you don't get back up, you're never going to advance. Everybody's going to fall. Everybody's going to make a mistake. Everybody's going to go against God at some point in time. Just come right back to Him. Come right back to Him. God doesn't judge us because He loves to judge us. He judges us because He is a pillar of truth and knowledge. And He doesn't like to see us suffer. Jesus, if we've seen Jesus, we've seen God. Jesus cried when He rode into Jerusalem. If you've seen Jesus, you've seen God. God cries when He sees what's happening. And even during the tribulation, God has compassion. He cuts the tribulation short. Otherwise, there wouldn't be anybody left alive. God will be there for you every time you need Him. Why would anybody want to leave that behind? Yeah, we get frustrated. We all do. I told you Moses complained. And ultimately, Moses' anger with God kept him from seeing the promised land. So it doesn't matter who you are. You can push God too far. But it's in the rules. He designed the rules from the beginning. They haven't ever changed. Why do you think they'd change for you? Each one of us is unique, and we're special to God. But we're not unique to the rules. We still all follow the same set of rules. Give thanks to God daily. Be repentant to God daily. And ask for your needs daily. It's in our daily prayer, if you remember. All the things you need. And if you can't come up with that on your own, just say the daily prayer every day. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. The kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Same rules. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts or our sins as we forgive those who have sinned against us. We're not to judge. And in the way that we do judge, God's going to judge us. So be forgiving. That can be hard. It's also hard for God. Okay, till we meet in the clouds. Do something good for God today.